So I want to share with you something that you could literally take out at the dealership if you ever get stuck and use it as a reference if you're trying to negotiate a lease. Listen guys, not everybody's credit is perfect. And even if your credit is perfect, the dealership can still play games with the interest rate or with the money factor. If you're already familiar with what a money factor is on a lease, skip ahead about 20 seconds just to save yourself some time. If you're not familiar, I want to break it down for you in 20 seconds. What the money factor is on a lease, in very, very simple terms, the money factor on a lease is the interest rate that you're being charged on any lease. It's cleverly disguised as a bunch of numbers. It's basically a decimal point and a bunch of numbers and can be converted very easily to an interest rate. So if you have a 0.001 money factor, you multiply it by 2,400 and that gives you the interest rate, which results to 2.4% APR. It's funny because any Volkswagen lease, say for instance, a really hot deal on a Volkswagen Jetta is $200 a month. And to get there, you need a $4,000 discount. Say you're shopping online on one of those popular car buying websites, right? You know which ones I'm talking about. You get one of those certificates that offer you a $4,000 discount. You get to the dealership and decide, I want to lease this thing. You already got the $4,000 discount. So it should be just a clear-cut situation where they take the MSRP, deduct $4,000, and boom, right there is your $200 a month. However, Volkswagen dealers, even if your credit is perfect, are allowed to mark up the interest rate by 0.00125, basically adding in another $25 in your payment. Guys, the money factors are generally never disclosed on lease payment quotes. The sheets that they hand out at the dealership when they show you the discounts, the taxes, fees, nowhere on these sheets are the money factor. And if you've got even a perfect credit score, you're still at a risk of getting your money factor jacked up. What I want to do for you right now is break down for you all the different tiers of a Volkswagen lease. There's 8 of them, and I'm going to make this super, super easy. What I'm going to do for you is tell you all the different credit scores and which tier you fall into depending on your credit score. After that, I want to tell you what that results to, how much the lease payment would be, and then how much the overall finance charge would be if you're not a tier 1. So guys, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ari Janessian, and I run a car buying service called Boston Automotive Consulting. We're based out of Boston, Massachusetts, and operate nationwide, helping new car buyers such as yourself land the very, very best deal on brand new cars such as the Volkswagen Jetta. So if you haven't already and you enjoy solid how-to videos such as the one that you're about to watch right now, please consider subscribing. I'm about to break down for you everything revolving around credit tiers, approvals, and how that affects your payment. In 3, 2, 1. So guys, you're going to see on this right side, what I want you to do is figure out which tier that you fall into. Basically anything over a 700 credit score, they're going to help you out, but you're still technically considered a tier 2. What I want you to do right now is figure out which tier you fall into based on your credit score. Since there's 8 of them, it's really broken down into a narrow range all the way down to under 600. If you're anything below a 620 credit score, I want to give you a warning. This is the danger zone of Volkswagen tier approvals. You're going to find out exactly why on the next slide. What I have here, based on your credit tier, is how that affects the money factor or the interest that's being charged on your lease. So Volkswagen typically on their brand new cars, even if you're a tier 2, will subvent or basically discount the APR. They'll honor it to anybody that has over a 700 credit score. Going down the list, you can see going to a tier 3, they add 30 basis points or 0.003 to the money factor, and so on and so forth. You want to figure out, based on your credit score, what your tier is. Figure out exactly what that translates to based on this information here. Now, what I'm going to do for you on the next slide, you can see already, based on the money factor, what the corresponding interest rate is. So you'll already notice going all the way down to tier 7 and 8, why I said this is the danger zone. They charge a ton of interest if you're going below a 620 credit score. So say for instance, if you're at a tier 1, over the course of 36 months, the overall finance charge at tier 1 and 2 is only $520. It starts to grow exponentially based on what your tier is. If you drop down all the way to a tier 8, you'd be talking about a 10% interest rate. Basically every month you'd be paying $200 on car payment and $120 for the finance charge. If you're anywhere near a tier 8, I want to recommend finding a cosigner. If you're at a tier 7, I'd highly encourage you to ask management to ask for what's called a tier bump. Basically what a tier bump does is, guys, instead of being categorized into tier 7 or 8, if you're at a tier 7 and you ask for a tier bump, it's possible that Volkswagen will give you some sort of pass to get to a better tier in order to drop your interest rate a tiny bit, saving you some money every month in finance charges. On the previous slide, you'll notice on the right side, you'll see what the payment is, and the number next to that, the overall finance charge over the 3 years that you'd be paying to Volkswagen. If it's possible at all to plead to get that tier bump, you'd be saving yourself a ton of money. If it's possible to get a cosigner, I know it's easier said than done, tell them, maybe you can make them an offer to actually pay them instead of paying all that money to Volkswagen Credit. Just a thought. So guys, if you found this information useful and you want to see more new car buying and negotiation tips, getting super specific, just like how I did in this video today on the Volkswagen tier approvals, please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.